Welcome to The Issue on your TV. I'm Mark Carr, and you'll notice, as you have over the last few programs, The Issue is looking a little bit different. I'm at home, my co-host is at home, our producer is at home, and our guests are safe at home. We'll be broadcasting this way for future episodes of The Issue to keep the community updated. So on that note, my co-host this week is Angelo Bentavania, Councillor for the City of Burlington, Ward 6. Angelo, are you there? And how are you doing? You and Diane and your family doing?
We're all doing well, thank you very much, and I hope that everyone else is doing well during this tough stay-at-home isolation program that we're all forced to do. But no, everybody's good here, and we do what we need to do to stay safe.
And I noticed that there's an addition to your face. Can you tell us about the beard?
This is my COVID-19 growth, week number, I guess somewhere almost week 6, 45, 46 days, whatever it is. And I will keep this going until we beat this thing. And so I hope it doesn't get too much longer.
And I'm sure Diane wants it gone as soon as possible as well. Angelo, our first guest is Robin Bailey, the Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank. But Angelo, you've been in constant contact with Robin since the isolation started. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you for that. Both Robin and I are on the Burlington Emergency Task Force, amongst other people in different sectors of the operations of the city. And so I have had an opportunity to spend some time on the phone with Robin to discuss some of their needs. We'll get into some of the questions later, some of the changes in how we service not only their clients, but how we service the public and so on. So yeah, it's been a consistent discussion once or twice a week to see how things are going.
Well, let's get right to it. Thank you for joining us, Robin. We appreciate the time that you're taking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us how your business in food distribution, how it's looking today as compared to pre-COVID-19?
Sure. So our regular mode was through a shopping model where we allowed people to come into the actual food bank. They could shop for themselves, be able to pick out the exact items that they wanted. And we've switched completely from that to contactless delivery is what we're aiming to do now. So now what we have is prepackaged hampers of non-perishables. And then we give people, ask people to either email or phone us, make a request for food, and then we followed up with a quick phone call, finding out the extras that they want, so the perishables. So whether it be certain produce, milk, eggs, bread, frozen meats, those types of things.
Are you finding that the food bank business, if you will, is increasing under COVID-19?
Yeah, we've definitely seen a bit of a bump up, probably around 10%, maybe 20%. And we think that it may get a little bit busier, but we're prepared for that. We've had great support from the community. So anyone who's in need, we can definitely up how much we're giving out right now. We just got a great donation from Feed Ontario of extra hampers that we can now add to what we're giving out to people. So we're really trying to give people at least a couple of weeks worth of food when it gets delivered to their house.
Question, Robin, is we're fortunate we live in a city like this that people are incredibly willing to help and support. The Burlington Food Bank, obviously. Can you tell the public here how they can get a hold of you if they have things that they'd like to offer, whether it be volunteerism, product? How can they get a hold of you to participate in supporting what you do?
Sure. So the best one for us, because it gives us a little bit of time and we don't have to try to rush and get to the phone, is by email. So just info@burlingtonfoodbank.ca is the easiest, and that's anyone. So it's if you want to give to us or if you need to get help from us. That's the best and easiest one for us. The second one is by phone, and that's 905-637-2273.
And the reason why I brought that up specifically is one of the responsibilities that I have amongst a few others is through this task force is to find more food for the food bank, to find some storage areas, some transportation, cold storage as well. And when it's all said and done, I know the food bank is not, they need PPEs, but while we're at it, the PPEs is a big issue, and we want volunteers to be wearing and staying safe as well. So I bring that out in case someone out there can support the program in any of those items that we need.
Now, Robin, how are you faring in terms of receiving food from your regular suppliers of food to be able to pass out to individuals?
Yeah, we're doing quite well as far as being able to locate most food. We've had struggles on certain items. So canned pasta sauce has been a tough one. Rice has probably been the toughest one for us, just trying to find it. And I think that's been true for most places. As far as my communications with other food banks, there's certain items that are just really tough for us to find right now. So then we end up having to change up a little bit what we're giving out. But our suppliers have been really great. Early on in COVID, it was really difficult. But as the supply chains all have started to sort of get back in order and in line, it's helped a lot that we're now able to place an order, and we can typically get it within a few days.
And the transportation links are all there, so you can get delivery of it without any difficulties?
Yeah, we have our refrigerated van that we use, and so we're able to go out and pick up pretty much anywhere within, driving distance. So if it happens to be a little further away, we're willing to make the trek out. We pick up regularly from a produce place in Mississauga that donates to us weekly, and they've done that for quite a while now, and they're still supplying to us. So if you're ever looking for lemons and limes, we have lots.
And Robin, obviously, and I know you call, we'll call them clients. It has obviously grown as we move into this COVID-19. So the landscape has changed in terms of your client. Can we talk about what you're seeing out there? Because it can happen to any of us.
Yeah, and I think that's important for all of us to recognize. I mean, a number of the people who've requested service are people who never thought that they would ever have to use a food bank. They were actually all working, a number of them working great jobs and doing well, and all of a sudden layoffs hit, and the bills continue, right? Like nobody was forgiving their car loans and things like that. And so what we do is with our contactless delivery is we actually have regular everyday people making those deliveries too. So there's no markings where that it was the Burlington Food Bank delivering the food. We just make sure that we're doing it with as much privacy as we can. When they arrive, the drivers aren't given a lot of details about who it is that they're delivering to, other than a phone number, the address, and the person's name, and they drop off the food and then give a quick phone call and let them know that their food's there. So we're trying to keep as much privacy as possible. We do that regularly anyways. We really do feel that life circumstances kind of hit at weird times, and you never know if you're, an accident away from having to use a food bank, or, an extra medical bill or whatever it might be that maybe makes you have to use a food bank. And so we really do try to sort of honor people's privacy and try to keep anonymity for the most part. We don't share any of that information around or anything. The big one for us right now is letting people know that there is no stigma attached to using the food bank. If you need it, we're happy to help. We have a community that's just been incredible as far as the support of us. And so we're really trying to make sure people know that if they need the assistance, again, just send us a quick email or give us a quick call. you'll see that all of our volunteers and staff are super friendly people, and they want to hear your story a little bit, because sometimes you want to get that out, because you want people to know why you need the help, and that you aren't just sort of sitting on a system and waiting for help. And we make sure people know that we understand life circumstances cause you to need our help, maybe at a time that you never thought was going to happen.
Thank you for that. And I do want to get this question in case we do run out of time. Throughout this whole emergency task force, the group is working at preparing what we call for the worst and hoping for the best. And one of the things that you have been involved with, amongst others, is to keep things safe for the volunteers, to keep food safe, the food security part of it safe, and the deliveries and so on. Can you talk about some of the things that we're looking at in terms of accessing large facilities, such as our city facilities with arenas, so that the volunteers can socially distance to prepare the products and so on, so that they can be delivered on time? And then lastly, what is post-pandemic Burlington Food Bank going to look like as we get out of this pandemic?
So yeah, the first one, for sure, we could use a little more space. If you've ever been to the food bank, you'll know that we're in pretty tight quarters. And so we have to limit how many volunteers are here. We have to limit how much we can sort of produce as far as production goes of building hampers and things. So if we had that extra space, we would definitely be able to build a little bit more and have a little bit more available for getting things ready in case we are needed even more than what we are right now. As far as post-pandemic, it's something that we hope comes fairly soon. We're looking forward to getting back to giving people that opportunity to come and shop again. But I think for the foreseeable future, one of the good things that's come out of it is we've recognized that this delivery is a possibility that we've never done before. And I think that it is something that we're going to continue on post-pandemic, which was a bit eye-opening for us, that it wasn't quite as difficult as we thought. That we might be able to deliver to people who are shut-ins, who are elderly and can't get here, or who just don't have transportation to be able to get here. In the past, what we would do is offer a cab for the ride home, but they still had to get to us. And it may be sometimes where we can work with a Halton Support Housing or organizations like those, and be able to say, hey, can we deliver to your clients on a regular basis, and kind of set up a scheduled delivery sort of process.
Robin Bailey, Executive Director of the Burlington Food Bank. I want to thank you for joining us here on the issue today. And I also want to thank you and the many volunteers for all your efforts that you're putting in. And so stay safe, my friend.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Angelo.
Welcome back to The Issue on your TV. I'm Mark Carr. My co-host is Angelo Bentavania, City of Burlington and Halton Region Councillor for Ward 6. So, Angelo, you suggested bringing on our next guest, Brent Fleming. Give us some background and why you thought viewers would like to meet Brett.
Well, thank you for that, Mark. I've actually known Brett and his family for since he was probably about 6 years old, and always energetic, and in the hockey program always excelled. Brett's was a fifth-round draft pick actually for the Washington Capitals back in 90, whatever it was, one or no. Anyway,
2009.
Yeah, 2007, whatever. And has played professional hockey ever since. He's played for in the AHL, East Coast League, and recently in Europe in the last number of years. So he certainly traveled around. I brought him along because he was in Italy during the peak of this pandemic, and got some incredible stories. And we want to sort of learn a little bit about what was happening in Europe when we were sort of just discovering what was going on here in this country. That's why I decided to bring Brett along. I think it'd be interesting stories.
Okay, so you go ahead and fire the first question to Brett.
So the first question, Brett, was Tell our audience, while you were out, when you were in Italy, what was your original routine? Going to a game, getting up, and how that changed as time went on.
Basically, being a hockey player, you have 3 different days. You have game days, practice days, and days off. So there's not really, weekdays or weekends. So, on a practice day, get up in the morning, go to the rink. Maybe you'll have a workout before your practice, and then hop on the ice for an hour or so and practice. And then on a game day, usually show up to the rink in the morning. You'll go on for a little pregame skate just to get the legs going, and then later in the day, usually around 7 o'clock, you'll show up to the rink and you'll have a game. If it's a travel day, you'll hop on the bus and travel, 3 to 5 hours on the bus, and then hop off and just get ready to do a game. So those ones are tough.
So as time went on, how did that routine start to change? When did you realize that, okay, this is a little different?
Yeah, well, the biggest changes in Italy, they put in the rule that we weren't allowed to have any fans at our games. We never actually played one of those games because the whole season ended up getting canceled before that happened. But one of our games, our first playoff game, we actually had our fans have to sit 2 seats apart from each other. So that was pretty interesting. And then in the first round of the playoffs, the Czech Republic's teams wouldn't let us stay in any of the hotels in Czech Republic. They wouldn't allow us into the country other than to play the game. So we had to stay in Austria on the border of Czech Republic and Austria. So it was getting pretty interesting for sure.
Now, what about the players in the bus as they start to? Was there a nervous feeling? Was there any of those uncomfortable situations for your teammates?
Yeah, I think because most of our time is spent with each other and we're not really interacting with too many other people, we kind of felt safe amongst each others. But I think everyone's biggest worries were their wives and girlfriends and children, right? We started trying to plan for all the wives and girlfriends and children to leave on the same date. And just try to get them out of there, because that's one less thing that we had to worry about, because we could see this coming, right? We could see, the season might be canceled. There was whispers of it. And so we just wanted to take care of one thing at a time and try to get the wives out of there.
Professional athletes are constantly training. What does your training schedule look like now?
Right now, well, it's kind of funny because it's unknown if hockey is going to be back for next year, especially over in Europe, right? With the travel bans going on right now. But as of right now, I'm just, trying to stay in shape. Obviously gyms are closed. So I'm trying to stay in shape whatever way I can, whether it's running. My dad had some old weights, York weights that are 35 years old probably. I went into his basement and pulled those out. So I'm sure a lot of people are having trouble with training because, not everyone has that supply at their house, right? So as of right now, I'm just trying to do what I can to stay in shape.
But no on-ice skating at all? That's got to be difficult for you.
At this time, I'm normally not going on the ice anyways. Usually I start in the beginning of June. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether arenas will be open because they're closed right now, obviously. So it'll be interesting to try to find ice to skate on to get ready for the season once I decide that I do want to start training on ice as well.
So Brett, going back to the COVID-19 situation back in Italy, why do you think things got so bad so quickly in Italy? What did you see there that you may or may not have seen here now that you're here?
I think that a lot of the precautions were ignored in Italy. We're here, there was kind of the ban, don't go out unless it's necessary. I think they were a little bit of a step behind us, and I think Canada did a good job of enforcing those rules early enough so the situation didn't get so bad. In Italy, you'd see people still going out for coffees and sitting there, obviously closer than 6 feet to each other. And, by the time they put those rules in, it was already spread pretty much all across the northern part of Italy. And, cities had to be shut down basically. And same thing, grocery stores were being cleaned out of things that would last on the shelf for a long time. And I think Canada, like I said, did such a good job, and I think we're ahead of it. And Italy is obviously still a little bit behind because of the timing of their quarantine.
And then my question, I have to get this one in before our time is up. Now, you're a fairly newly married individual in the last year. Your wife is pregnant. Now you had to, the season got canceled in Europe, and now you have to get back.
Okay, so, yeah.
Walk us through some of the hurdles you went through to get back, given that you had a certain time to be back by.
Yeah. So originally my flight back was like April 25th or something, right? Because they just kind of booked like an open-ended flight for you. So once we found out that the season was canceled, my wife and I were planning on coming home March 16th. We switched both of our flights. And on the 12th, we woke up in the morning and found out that Trump had put a ban on flights coming in from Europe. And we were connecting into the States, into New York. And so we had to scramble and rebook our flight for, the 13th before 12 o'clock, because that's when the ban started. So we were actually flying out of Munich, so we had to drive through Austria, and they stopped us in the border in Austria and made us like sign papers saying we were COVID free and asking us if we had any symptoms and all that stuff. And once we passed through Austria, it was actually smooth sailing into Munich. But getting into the United States, flying into the United States, we kind of went through the same process where they, get you to sign papers, and it was just a very hectic day because everything was rushed. We had to get an earlier bus to get into Munich, and once we're home and safe, it was just a really big relief.
Brett, are you eligible for any federal programs that are being rolled out for Canadians because you work outside of Canada?
I believe so. I mean, I don't know the exact rules, but I do pay, Canadian taxes because I'm a Canadian resident and everything. And I don't know the exact rules, but by my understanding, because, I am a Canadian resident and I did, lose money because my season was cut short, I would be eligible for some of the Canadian programs that have been put in place because of this COVID-19.
Okay, that's really good, because I wouldn't want to see you just relying on the Italian money flowing into your pocket and bank account.
Yeah, exactly. And with what's going on over there, there's a lot of unknown with money over there as well. So we'll see. I'll have to wait and see what the news comes from Italy on money as well.
So, Brett, what are your teammates and your colleagues and other leagues? What are their feelings on startup come September, October, whatever that may be? What are their conversations like?
Everyone seems to think there will be a season. I know over in the Czech Republic, people are doing a lot of work, but as of right now, countries like Germany and Italy and Austria, they haven't been doing any work in terms of recruiting and signings of players. So it'll be interesting to see when they get started up. Obviously, when most of the stuff clears and the non-essential businesses can start working again, then I think stuff will start picking up, and hopefully we will have a hockey season in North America and in Europe.
So Brett, in 30 seconds, because I know we're running out of time here, what are you appreciative being back in Canada, having gone through what you went through in Italy?
Well, it's kind of funny because I might as well be in Italy the way I have to communicate with my family still, right? Because I'm still FaceTiming them like I normally would. I can't see them, so I might as well be in Italy. But no, it's nice to be at home. Everything's familiar. The grocery stores, and my parents have stopped by and just like stood outside on the driveway, and you can see them and stuff. And it's just always nice to be back home. It's a familiar place, and it's nice to have English speaking too. I got to say that. So.
Well, I'm certainly happy you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
Brett Fleming, professional hockey player playing out of Italy and now home safe and sound here in Canada. Thank you very much for joining us, Bud. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And take a look at this beard, Brett, because yours is going to get this color someday.
Once my kid comes, I think it's going to turn that color.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Brett. I appreciate you being here and letting our viewers get a glimpse of your life behind the scenes in Italy and under COVID-19.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time.
Thanks. These are difficult times. The issue in your TV will continue to provide relevant, up-to-date information, and you can check with Halton News each weekday for the local news. So, Angelo, stay safe, and your family and Diane all stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.
Cheers. Stay safe, everybody.
And we'll see you next week on The Issue. It's truly local television. Stay safe, everyone.